I'm Ebong.
And I'm Kate.
And welcome to the District Dish. This is our second webisode. Our first one was so successful, we had to come on back again. And we just really want to thank everyone for not only watching the first webisode, but also for giving us some great feedback, some comments, some very interesting and entertaining emails, as well as saying some wonderful things in person. We certainly appreciate your great feedback and constructive criticism. And with that, we are going to actually take some of those comments that we've been receiving and calling them out on an email, or an email call, a mailbag call. So look for that coming episodes.
That's right. Keep them up. Keep writing to us at www.thedistrictdish.com/contact, and you just might hear your email read right here on the show. We are coming to you, dishing with you at Teatro Goldoni at 1909 K Street Northwest in Foggy Bottom.
In the future segment, we're going to be talking about Luke's Week's fashion show, what happened there, the clothes and the shoes that were worn, and who wore them.
Yep, and there's tons and tons and tons of events that just happened this past week, as well as some really cool ones coming up. So we'll be chatting with you about that.
Do you agree with us on whether or not DC should be granted voting rights?
And a little bit of controversy here in our nation's capital with our fabulous Nationals team and a couple of other sporting events that are coming up as well.
And then speaking of events, Billy Joel and Elton John concert July 11th at New Nationals Park.
And one of my dearest friends is here today to talk to us about her shoes, her shoe designs, Lacey Kirstein. With Lacey K Shoes, we'll be chatting with us about some of the great stuff that she's putting on celebrities' feet.
I can't wait to get some of that on my feet. All of that and more coming up on the District Dish.
Welcome back to the District Dish. Today's a snow day in Washington, D.C.
And speaking of snow days, we're going to be talking a little bit about DC pet peeves. Pet peeves that make me so crazy, make you crazy, make you crazy. I mean, snow days, driving, how people cannot drive in this area. I've got a whole list of pet peeves beyond belief. That happens to be one of them.
We're below the Mason-Dixon line. We are southern, but that does not mean that it does not snow here. So I don't understand why people drive 10 miles an hour.
No, I mean, even when it rains.
The Rosies.
Just bad drivers, terrible drivers. So that's not my top pet peeve. My top pet peeve, actually, I have so many pet peeves, but one of the top pet peeves that I have, and Kate and I were talking about this recently, is how guys in DC like to do these things called textual relationships, where all they do is text you and they expect to have some sort of substantive relationship on their phone, on your phone. And it even goes into like different, I mean, on and on and on and on and on at 2 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Or do you think that that's just a trend because more and more people are using computers and they're using phones and they're not talking to people one-on-one, and so it's just natural.
I'm guilty of that. I do that all the time. I prefer
you ask girls
you booty call?
No.
Do you booty call?
No, of course not. I prefer not to talk on the phone, to be honest with you, because it's a lot easier.
I don't like the phone either.
It's easier to text because you only have 160 characters.
And phone causes brain cancer too. Cell phones do.
That's true.
Cell phones cause brain cancer. So maybe this is like a preventative maintenance type of thing.
I use a hands-free kit too.
I don't know if I agree with cell phones causing brain cancer.
But I'm like, you know, I think it's a weak way to communicate, in my personal opinion. I mean, I'm a certain age, and before cell phones were really, really popular, how did we get asked out? We got asked out in person. I'm not saying that somebody wrote a letter and sent it, you know, and had a dorm, like a
Pony Express.
Right, or landed at my doorman or something.
But you just feel so much more special whenever someone comes to you and asks you,
yeah,
you know, I'm interested in you and I would like to learn more about you. Can I take you to dinner?
Is it because men fear rejection, Ebong?
That's it. What it does is think about it. It removes the rejection phase from it, because if you decide not to answer it or decide to say no, I don't have to see you. I have to see your face. Mm-hmm. And you have to see me again in order for you to tell me No.
So men in DC are pussies? Is that what we're saying?
Basically.
That's what I'm hearing.
But I'm not from DC, so I'm not one.
Of course, so you're different.
We're all from
You're
DC
different.
now. We're all from DC now.
Yeah, we
That's
are
actually
all
That's where
from
I live
DC.
now.
one of my pet peeves about DC. This is one of those places where everyone is, it's a very transient city, and there are a lot of people that have been here their entire lives, but there are also a lot of people like me who chose to move here as soon as they were able, and as soon as they decided where they wanted their home to be. I purchased my first home here. I decided I wanted to be a Washingtonian. Some people say, you're not from here, you weren't born here. What is that?
No.
I find that is one of my
Well,
biggest
I've lived
pet peeves.
here in the Washington area longer than I've lived in any other area. And so I feel that although I feel like I am a Washingtonian because I've been here since 1990, and I don't think that I'm going to be moving anytime soon unless I get whisked away to Paris or something like that. But that's not going to happen very soon.
And then you would consider yourself a Parisian.
Right,
Correct.
right. After
For a few
several
months.
years. Yeah, for a few months.
I'm only here. This is a very transient place to
It
begin
is.
with. I mean, I'm not from here as well originally, but I've been living here for over 6 years. It's the longest time I've lived in one particular
Right.
place in my adult life.
Yep.
I'm nomadic in nature. I can't really, and that's part of commitment issue.
Right.
But that's a different segment.
Oh, yeah.
What is
That's
one thing
definitely
that
a good
you
segment.
don't like, or what's one of your pet peeves about Washington?
Speaking of commitment, I hate parking in DC. I hate parking in the street. I hate the meters. I hate the DC government and their
You hate the
DMV.
DC government.
Not the government, but the DMV.
DC government.
I love the DC government because she works there, but I hate the DMV and how all that works, and also dealing with parking tickets and something online.
Don't pay your parking tickets. Who
Wait,
does
don't
that?
You have to pay your parking tickets, or they will boot your car.
I tried that.
I got rid
but
of my car,
And
so I
then
don't
you
have to worry about that
Metro
anymore.
like I do, which is one of my biggest, actually, other pet peeves.
Expensive.
What is it?
Whenever there's a down metro and there's an up metro, you go up the up and down the down, and don't go up the down, because if I can't go down the down, I get very upset. And yes, I do yell at people. I say, this is the down. Why are you more special than I
I
am?
think she's
Shouldn't I get to
frightening
go into the
so
metro?
many people who use
I've
the
probably talked to so
metro.
many of you on the Foggy Bottom Metro. Yes, I am that crazy lady that's always like telling you need to go to the other side.
Yeah.
That would be me.
I actually would like to see that sometime. I'm gonna go follow you and just see you just.
And that'll be another one of our
It's quite
segments.
That will be.
It's
We'll
quite
follow you with a camera. Okay, one other pet peeve that I have, I know we have to move on, but when people have your contact information, they have your email information, they have your phone number, and then they message you on Facebook. I'm sorry. Why should I have to go take an extra step to go and get your information? People are like, I messaged you on Facebook and you didn't answer back. Yeah, well, guess what? Because I never pick up my messages on Facebook. You have my phone number, you have my email address. You want to contact me,
I'm with
you know how to contact
I'm
me.
with you. So communication and transportation, pretty much two
Right.
things that really anger Washingtonians.
I agree.
Or apparently want to be Washingtonians.
I'm ranting now.
Since none of us are really from here, and that's something that you guys have a problem with. But anyway, DC has been in the news all over the place a lot lately because we may actually be getting some voting representation. How do we feel about that?
That's about time. I mean, well, I don't know. Part of me is thinking, yes, it's about time, and part of me is thinking, do I really care? But mainly because the size of DC in itself, it's not a very. You should have representation because that's what this country's about.
Right.
By the same token,
But you don't think that there's going to be like some lawsuits about constitutionality with that?
and that's part of the problem, right? The courts and the lawsuits and everything else. I just want to be able to vote and call it a day.
I live in Virginia, and that's part of the reason why I choose to live in Virginia, even though it's Arlington. At least I can just go home, and I appreciate having the right to vote and having the right to have a representative that I can contact and have some sort of action take place if I need him or her to do so. I mean, you guys in DC.
Well, I think DC is one of the greatest places because it's a local government, and that local government has such strong power and can really get things done. And ever since we got the Home Rule Act in the 70s, I mean, we've really taken off. But I'm not sure how I feel about this no taxation without representation part, but I will say, if we didn't have to pay federal taxes, I think that we would be doing pretty darn good.
Well, who do I call? Who do I contact in DC about the DMV issue then? I mean,
You
that's
can
why.
contact, you can contact Eleanor Holmes Norton. You could contact our
Nice.
shadow senator. You actually have several representatives that represent you. So we may talk about that on a later segment. But coming up, we will be talking with Lacey Kirstein of Lacey K Shoes on many more fashionable events coming up in the district.